Alrighty, good to see you guys today. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. From left to right, I am happy to see Ayla, Lianos, Jason, Blade, Earl, Sandy, Abby, Gracie Ann, Bethany, Jessica, Kalu, Keely, Andrew, Carlo, Andres, Caitlin, Mia, Grace Jackson, Kenneth, Sabrina, and Jahaley. Great to have you guys here today. We have 4 classes left of CS 107 this semester. And our last 4 classes, we're going to be engaging in a design challenge. Today is session 1. And we will take a look at some winners of the Congressional App Challenge later today. If you got to those already, cool. If not, no worries. Alrighty. So today is going to be a little different, or actually quite a bit different than classes in the past. Usually I try to keep it under 20 minutes and let you guys have most of your work time. Today in particular is going to be a much more guided experience. So I'm going to try to keep us, you're as always welcome to work ahead on your own. The resources are hopefully clear enough that you should do that. But if you want to learn, if you want to kind of have this experience with us, this sort of like design challenge experience, well, anyway, that's how I'm going to try to organize the class today. So one thing that we should take a look at is what the outcome of design challenges past look like. There'll be an intro to the concept of human-centered design. We're going to go through 2 parts of the design process, empathy and a process where you define a problem. And then we will continue on Thursday. So what's going on today? Again, it's a bit more significantly more guided today than classes in the past. And yeah, so there's a heads up on that. Got a corny joke for you. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet? You can call it out or put it in the chat. Kenneth. All right. Well, Kenneth figured it out. Kudos to the Thunkable God. The janitor, when he jumped out of the closet, he said, "Supplies!" I know. Anyway. Okay. To be continued. All righty. So as a kudos to Kenneth. That was very good and very fast. All right, so this is what we've done so far in this class. We've covered a lot of fundamental computer science concepts. We've done algorithms and events, conditionals, variables, procedures, functions, lists, databases. We learned about APIs, which is really, really cool. Some apps, some types of like pretty high functioning apps that you guys have already built are slideshows and games and quizzes and note-taking apps and things that use databases and such. So some pretty complex stuff. And I think that on the positive, in the 13 weeks up to this point that we've been together, you guys have gotten like a lot of background information and had a lot of practice with these concepts. And now what we want to do is we want to bring it together towards something real, towards something meaningful. We want to take all these skills and one, the app design, but 2, the computer science concepts, and we want to bring them together. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to engage in a human-centered design process. Another term for this is design thinking. The idea of human-centered design is to center a client or a user and really empathize with what their needs are and what their experiences are and designing for them. So, I mean, up to this point, I've given you sort of like the framework of some challenges or some apps, built those out. You guys have done a great job with that. Now we need to take those concepts and apply it to the needs of a potential user. So human-centered design is also known as design thinking. It's basically a process by which a design team or an engineering team goes through to determine the needs of a user and then build for that. And so as a system of thought or as a sort of a philosophy of thought, design thinking is taught explicitly at places like Stanford. Stanford actually has the Stanford Design School. The D School is kind of a big deal. They teach at MIT. And if you work in industry or in particular technology, whether you're at Google or Facebook or Apple or wherever, this is embedded in the process of thinking about products. Is the very specifically what is the process one would go through to center the user experience? What is the user experience? So we're going to be going pretty deep into that today over the next couple of classes. There's 5 main steps to human-centered design. The first step is empathizing. So putting yourself in the shoes of your user, and kind of like, anticipating what their experience is going to be, defining a problem or a challenge that they're having, ideating, which is brainstorming a lot of different potential solutions to the problem, prototyping, which you've done many times, which is building a sample or something we've called an MVP, so a minimally viable product, such that you can show off the solution, or someone can interact with the solution to give feedback, and that's sort of related to testing. So we've done that a bunch of times where you guys post your projects on a Padlet, and people get to test them and give feedback. And so that's the human-centered design process. And we're going to be jumping into empathizing and defining today. So as I mentioned, the steps: empathizing, defining, ideating. So it's brainstorming, dreaming up solutions, prototyping, making a model of your solution to show. You're going to use Thunkable to build this model. And then, as usual, we'll try out the solution with others and get feedback. Stop me at any time if you have questions, if you want clarifications. There's, given a lot of information, so feel free to just call out questions or raise your hand or in the chat. It's all good. Here's the key question that we're going to be looking at as going through a human-centered design process and building a model app for, is thinking about our current context. So we're in this world of, on the positive, kind of coming out of this COVID crisis, and so obviously many challenges associated with that. So how might we help people thrive mentally and physically in the midst, or as we are beginning to exit positively COVID-19? That's the big framing for this design challenge. So we will be introduced to a series of potential clients. We will empathize with their needs. You'll define a general problem that that is in their life, and we will design a solution that can be accessed through an app. And the big context that we're working on is this idea of how might we help people thrive mentally and physically in the midst of COVID-19. So here's the project timeline. Today, we're going to focus on two things: empathy, so putting ourselves in the client's shoes and defining a problem for them. On Thursday, we will ideate, come up brainstorm. We'll go through a process for brainstorming, and you'll begin planning your app. You'll have both classes next week to build your model app. So similar to when we did the creative game project, you guys had a couple class days where we'll have some people in here to help you build, if that's what you need. I haven't totally figured out this piece, but there needs to be an element where you'll produce some sort of story about your project. So like an explanation of how your solution or your project meets the need of your client. It might be as simple as a slide deck. I might have a framework for how to do like a screencast video type thing, but we're still trying to hone in on the details for that. So there's no final in this class, but what you will be expected to do after the last class is give feedback to your peers. So this is like the testing part. That's the timeline. The deliverables, there's a project guide, which I will introduce to you to soon. You will submit an MVP, a minimally viable product. Doesn't have to work perfectly, but the user, like a tester, should have a general idea of how the app would work, or how the user would interact with it, or how it solves the problem. And as I mentioned, we're still working out the details of how you will tell the story of your app. Could be as simple as a slide deck or some sort of storyboard which explains how things work. You could also do a video. I think it'll just be a series of options you will choose, but I'm still trying to figure out what's going to be realistic for everyone, and that's good, that will meet that need but also not be overwhelmed. With that, any questions so far on what we're going to engage in for the next couple classes? Okay. Alrighty. So the first thing I need you to do is I want you to make a copy of the design guide. This is something one of your deliverables that you will turn in. You will do some work on this, not a lot, but it should give you a general idea. Well, anyway, it will guide you through this process. Oops. I'll send it out to everybody. So you should make a copy, click through and make a copy of this. I'll show you what it looks like. It'll look like this. If you would, make sure to click the share button so that Ayla and I can see it. And so this should give you kind of an overview of how this is going to work. If you want to click through to any particular part, this is a sort of a table of contents here. Very specifically here, on your design guide. These are the specific things you need to do on the design guide for full credit. So you're going to build a couple of your own Padlets, which you should be able to do with a free account. You'll have to answer some basic questions and fill in. So there's some sort of basic overview stuff, but there's things you'll need to do, like the way that we'll collect and give you credit for your Padlets is you should post a link in here, for example, or you might have to answer a question about which client you're going to work with. It's not anything in particular you need to do here, but anyway, there's the very specific things you'll need to do within this guide are listed here. So there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things you actually need to do in this guide that you will need to interact with. So that is what you'll be graded on, and we'll continue on that. With that, I'm going to introduce you to where there's a couple different ways to do design challenges, but I found there's a organization called Build. I think they generally work in high schools, but they have an extremely well organized design challenge, and we're gonna kind of piggyback on their resources because I just think they're so good. So here's our intro video.
Welcome to the Build Design Challenge. Have you ever dreamed of owning your own business, creating your own app, or making a positive change in your community? If so, here's your chance to be the boss. This is an adventure where you can select the path you choose with our help and guidance. We provide the map for your journey. All you need to bring is your time, energy, and imagination to envision a solution you can later bring to life. Along the way, you'll learn a technique called human-centered design. What's that? Let me break it down for you. Human-centered design is understanding who you're designing for, with the focus on your client. If you're new to this, don't worry. You have a unique perspective and voice that we want to hear. After all, who has your experiences, your truths, your outlook on the world? Basically, you have everything you need to create something both useful and inspiring to make someone's life a little easier. So, are you ready to make a difference? Let's build.
All righty. So Build is the organization that put all these resources together. I sort of chopped them up in to work in our class, and I think the resources are excellent. So this should be good. You do not need to do this, but I want to show you just so you have a general idea of what what finished products might look like. They don't. This is not what your project is necessarily going to look like, but just to have, if you're trying to get an idea of the sort of the quality and what it might look like, there should be some links to some projects. I put them on the like this session page or this class page, but what you're really trying to do is get to, well, what you could do is there's a nationwide challenge every year. It's called the Congressional App Challenge, and a lot of it's by like House of Representative district, and so you can click most, I don't know, maybe half of the House of Representatives participate, but like basically every many districts run this thing, so you can see what people going through similar challenge, or students probably a little younger than you generally, what they built. So here, I'll put this in the chat if you guys want to play with it yourself. But I'm going to take a couple minutes and just show you a couple. When we find California here, so let's see, Barbara Lee, that's Oakland. So let's see what the kids in Oakland built for their app. All right, so these kids go to Alameda Science and Technology Institute. See what they built.
Hello, my name is Julieta Sue.
And I'm Michelle Tangerdinata.
We made a web app called Engage in order to make youth engagement opportunities more accessible and encourage more people to participate in socio-political events. The app is geared towards youth, but everyone, regardless of age or experience, is welcome to find a protest that interests them most.
The app was created using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. To store the information inputted, we use Google Firebase as our database.
The search feature is the main aspect of the app. On the homepage, you can either click the Find Protest button right here, or you can go up top on the navigation bar and press the search. Either way, it'll take you to the search page, where it'll ask you to enter the zip code of the protest that you're interested in participating in. Once you do that, you should see all of the protests within your input area and information such as the location, the date, start time, end time, meeting place, and the contact information of the organizer. Then you can refer to the resources page where there are protest safety guidelines to help you raise awareness in a safe manner.
By filling out the information asked on the form, our database will receive the information. We will verify that information and then manually add the protest to the list on the search page for users to view. As an organizer or organization, you will be prompted to submit general information about your protest or march, such as type, date, and time of the event, and you or your organization's contact information.
To go to the About page, you should click here on the navigation. You'll see
You guys probably get a sense of what the young ladies from Alameda were up to. So let's see, what about where's San Francisco? Pelosi. Okay. So let's see what the San Francisco winner from 2020, what did they create? So this is a student from Lowell High School here in San Francisco.
Hi, my name is Sophia. During this pandemic, many schools have closed, causing students to lose the social and emotional aspect of in-person learning. My application, School Reopening Calculator, hopes to reopen elementary schools safely. Let me show you how it works. This app uses a method called cohorting, where students are put into small groups. If one student contracts the virus, only the cohort has to quarantine rather than the whole school population. I'm going to start with cohorting kindergarten. These numbers determine the percent of students that can come to school per day. These exact numbers were chosen for easy administration. So 25% means that you can come once every week. 50% means that you can come twice every week. Granted, of course, that you have 1 day left open, which we will be talking about later. So I clicked 25%. The limit cohort size means what is the max amount of students that can be in one cohort. Let's put 12. This just means how many students are in kindergarten. Now press calculate cohort size for the big reveal. A schedule appears. From it, administrators can see how many cohorts kindergarten will need, which in this case is 8, the size of each cohort, which in this case is 12 and 11 per day, and the rotation of the students, which in this case is once a week. So next Monday, that same group will go again. This off day is...
Alrighty. So these are examples of students a little younger than you, probably given a bit more time than you, but engaging in the same app design challenge process. And this is the type of things they were able to build. So this is a not uncommon like application of computer science in sort of a real world way. If you want to check more of those out, like they have, I think at least going all the way back to 2015, there's lots of winners per congressional district. But you don't need to do anything with that. There is an optional section on the student guide, on the guide. You don't need to do anything with that. I just maybe that'll be used in a future course, but nothing you need to do right now. Alrighty. So we're going to jump into a bit an empathy activity before we attempt to empathize with a user who we might be designing for. And so empathy being the ability to understand the feelings and needs of others. And it's an interesting, in particular, just to jump in, this idea, there's an idea of facial expression research. And so obviously the very famous Charles Darwin, among his other controversial claims about theory of evolution and whatnot, he said that facial expressions were universal. And that was not confirmed until 1965, when actually a professor at Berkeley, his name is Paul Ekman, he did an experiment where in his research showed that expressions are consistent among humans. So no matter where you go, whether you're in the Bay Area or Cape Horn, all the way down in the bottom of South Africa, or you're in Kazakhstan or wherever you are, you run into people, and generally you should be able to read their facial expression, look at their face and have a general idea how they're feeling. And the basis of being able to understand how people are feeling, or rather being able to look at someone's face and understand how they're feeling, is the basis of empathy. Because by looking at someone's face or body language, generally, we can connect with how someone is feeling. So we're going to test your empathy right now. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to show you a series of videos, and I want you to try to figure out whether or not these smiles are real or fake. So can you look at someone's, is your ability to empathize strong enough that you can look at someone's face and know whether they're faking a smile or not? So actually, it'd be better if I had the, let me do something real quick. Let me make sure I have the answers, because we'll do a little challenge here. All right. So I'm getting the answers for myself. If you would like to play along, what I would like you to do is in the chat, you can write whether you think it's real or fake, and then I will tell you immediately after whether in fact they were real or fake. So we're going to start with number one. Let me get this, get the share screen back. Okay. So I'm going to show you a series of smiles, and you put it in the chat if you want to play along whether you think it's real or fake, and I'll tell you after whether you were right or wrong. Here's the first smile. All right, I'm going to show it one more time. If you want to make your guess in the chat whether you think it's a real or fake smile. All right, anybody other than Kenneth? Okay, we got one real, we got one fake, we got two reals. Oh, okay, we got a lot of answers there. Okay, we have 3 fakes and 4 reals. In fact, that smile was real. First smile, real. So half of you guys are dialed in here. All right, smile number 2, real or fake? You guys can write it in the chat whether you think it's real or not. Smile number 2. I'm going to show this one more time. You can write in the chat whether you think it's real or fake. All right, everyone in the chat so far seems to think this is fake. It is in fact fake. All right, smile number 3. Is this a real smile or a fake smile? Show this one more time. Is this a real smile or a fake smile? All righty. Conrad, I think I like the way you're thinking. Conrad, my reference sheet here says that's in fact a fake smile. He may just have crinkly eyes, but yes, the other elements of his face reacting generally would indicate that it's real. My information says that was a fake smile on number 3. All right, on number 4, is this woman? But I appreciate the interaction. All right, number 4, is this a real smile or a fake smile? Okay, we got 2, 3 fakes. Oh, play it one more time. If you want me to see this one more time, is this real or fake? All right, that was in fact a fake smile. Do a couple more of these. Number 5, is this a real or fake smile? Play it one more time. All righty, that is in fact a real smile, and sort of goes along with what Conrad was saying in the chat about the micro expression of the crow's feet and the other elements of this face reacting. So that's how we know it's real. So we'll couple more of these. We'll do 2 more of these. Is this a real or a fake smile? We'll watch this young man one more time. Real or fake? All right, righty, that was in fact a real smile. We'll do one more here. This gentleman. I'll watch this one more time. It's a real smile or a fake smile. Alrighty, that is in fact a fake smile. And so regardless of how you scored, whether you got them all right or all wrong, doesn't really matter. What I want to emphasize to you is that the ability to empathize is pretty intrinsic in being human. One of the natural ways that we do that is by reading people's facial expressions. It's not 100% science, but in some clinical research settings, they have found that people across the world, no matter where you are, they tend to have similar emotions. All right. Okay. So we're going to get started in this design challenge. I don't think you have to do anything just yet. We're going to play this video just to sort of give some framing, but we're going to move into our human-centered design. And so we're going to frame this first part as about empathizing. So we're empathizing to see the world through someone else's eyes, trying to experience it the way someone else does.
Empathize. The first step in the design process is empathy. You'll have to know and understand your client, their personality, their needs, what makes them tick. Feel what it's like to walk in their shoes. If you don't get them, you can't build for them. What are their trials and tribulations? What are their pet peeves? What makes them uncomfortable? What's empowering and invigorating to them? What brings them joy? People are complex. Don't box them in. You have to see the whole person. It's like when someone judges you without taking the time to know you. You don't want to make that mistake. That's why doing research is essential. In this challenge, you'll explore several interviews, make observations, pick a client, and then really dig in to discover what they need. Without empathy, nothing else in the design process will work. Let's build.
All righty. So,
Empathize.
Sorry. Okay. So the first client, so I'm gonna do some modeling. I'm gonna introduce, we're gonna meet Nico. He's our first potential client. And I'm gonna do we're gonna meet Nico, and then I'm gonna model the process of how I'm gonna sort of go through in a sort of pseudo virtual interview process where I'm going to get a bunch of details about Nico's life, so I can start thinking about a problem that a challenge that he's facing, and so that I have a basis for creating an app for Nico. Now, I'm going to do Nico. You are welcome to do Nico as well, but there's I think 6 possible clients total. So again, I'm going to model with Nico. You're welcome to do this yourself. You're welcome to skip this and move forward. But if you want to see how this is done, I'm going to do this with Nico, and then ultimately you have time to choose your own client, and we'll have time and cost for. I'm going to carve out a bunch of time for you to go through an empathy process with your client. So first, let's meet Nico.
My name is Nico. I'm a young man in my 20s, currently trying to make sense of the world that we're living in, both for my family and friends here in my home state of California, as well as for people around the country. By day, I work for an organization called Build, a national nonprofit that works to serve youth, providing entrepreneurship opportunities and college and career readiness. By night, I'm a DJ and music producer. My parents are both working within the medical field, providing care to those that need it most, ultimately putting themselves and my family at risk. With schools being closed and being the eldest of 3 siblings, my responsibilities have increased. Hopefully you get the chance to take a peek inside some of their stories. Come join me on this journey and meet some of my family and friends. Help us create solutions to those in need during this challenging time.
All righty. So that's a little intro to Nico. And what I need you to do right now is this. Everyone should probably do this. I'll put this in the chat. I'd like you to go to padlet.com. And if I assume you already have an account because we posted a lot to Padlet. And what I'd like you to do is actually create I believe you get 3 free Padlets. Like on a free account, you can get 3. We're going to need all 3. for this project. You could also do this just by hand. If you want to do this by hand and just take with like Post-its, you're welcome to do it that way and just take a picture of it. Either way, you'll need to submit like evidence that you went through this process. So I'm going to suggest you use Padlet, and let me see if I can find my Padlet here. So if you're new to Padlet or haven't really used it much, the interface looks like this. And when I make a Padlet, should allow me to do this. I have a pro account, but I think on the free account, you can create up to 3. And the Padlet format, I think that'll work best for this is the canvas. So you just select canvas. And the reason I like this one is because when you make notes on this one, you can just easily move them around and you can start to move posts around. But I would in fact like you to call this the empathy Padlet, just so we can keep track of which one you are working on. I'm sorry, to clarify, the reason why we're doing this is because if we were in person, we would just do this by hand on paper. But this is, I guess, the best way we can do sort of a virtual like Post-it process. So on the canvas, you can just take notes and you just double click and you can however you want to do it. And then what I like about it is you can just move things around just about anywhere. So if you haven't done that, please do that right now. Go to Padlet.com and make yourself an empathy Padlet. You won't need to do anything with it yet. I'd like you to get it set up, or I guess we're calling it the client empathy Padlet, and I'll get moving again in a minute. But you will need this. Again, you can do this by hand if you want, but the way this activity is set up, the Padlet would also be a good option. All right, so hopefully you got that set up, and we're gonna learn a little more about Nico's world. So I'm gonna actually do one other thing. I already, just for the purposes of time, I already started a Padlet for Nico, where I'm trying to empathize with his needs, and so I'm gonna do this. You can go to, if you want to follow along with me, I'll try to put this in the chat. builduniversity.org/empathize is where to find all the interviews. And if you scroll down, I'll just do it this way. Open this up. If you scroll down on the page, which there's the videos we've already watched. And there's this really cool, this is called I think it's like a thing link. And once it pops up, what this is a 360 picture. This looks like somewhere in North Oakland. And all of these are videos with Nico, with a question that he answers. So what I'm gonna do is I'll put this, hopefully you guys can see all this. So I'll put Nico here, and then I'll put the Padlet here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to collect information about Nico. Actually, let's go over the information that I want to collect about him. So I'm gonna, let's see, it's on the hand. Actually, it's probably better on the guide. So if I'm doing this, and if you're working through this, so now I want to learn basically this. I'm doing this project, this 2.1, and I'm trying to capture details about Nico. So I want to know about his identity, his needs, his goals, and I want to capture some notes, things that stand out to me about what they said, what they feel, challenges, what do you notice about their interest and environment, you know, uncover what they need. And I'm looking for a minimum of 20 details about Nico. The way that I'm going to do it is this. I'm going to use this thing link. Now, again, you do not have to do Nico. I'm just modeling this. And Nico is one of 6 options for people to work with. You'll notice that slightly farther down, there's the profiles of the other people. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other people. Well, there's 6 people total. I'm going to do Nico just to model it, but you guys can work on, when you do this, whoever you want. So I've got Nico's sort of set up here, and I'm going to click on each one of these, and a video should pop up. and I'm going to be ready to take notes on things that kind of stand out about Nico.
I was born in Michigan. My mom immigrated from the Philippines when she was 11. I met my dad in the Bay and moved with my dad's parents in 95. Had me, moved back to the Bay and been here since. Super passionate about is family and education. So I'm the eldest of 3 siblings, love them to death. And one thing that's always brought me back to community and people is just working within education, learning amongst each other, learning new things, while also being able to create new communities around things that we all enjoy, like music, food, etc.
All right. So that first video, I started this earlier just in the interest of time, but I started taking notes on the videos. Remember, they're just little notes that you can do on a Padlet. And we're trying to learn a number of things. Remember, we want to learn something. We're trying to understand Nico and what his needs and goals might be. So what did he say? How does he feel? Some challenges. And so we heard where he was born. We know that his mom's from, well, actually, that'd be better to say that his mom's from the Philippines. He works in education, family and education, music, really important to him, food. All right, so I'm gonna go through a couple more Nico videos, and then I'm gonna let you guys do this yourself. So let's see here. So here's a question. How has the pandemic affected others in your home and community? So I'm gonna watch this video here.
My dad works directly for the COVID clinic at a local hospital. And so obviously with the pandemic, there have been more and more cases coming in and out of the Bay Area. His employees are always trying to stay safe. People are worried. Capacity for the hospital is stretched thin, right? So I think 2 weeks ago, my dad took his first day off in 26 days, working straight at the hospital because they all have to just work overtime to just make sure that things are fine, so definitely been putting a tax on the family. And we're just trying to figure out how to be present for each other at a fine distance. Because the world feels very much like a kind of a glum place right now. So just trying to find pockets of positivity to.
All right, so we got a couple. We'll watch one more, or maybe one or two more on Nico. So what's this question here? This is what negative. Okay, I guess we could dig into negative outcomes. Just want to find out about some challenges that he's experiencing.
Another negative outcome. It's been hard to stay socially connected, right? So I think that's definitely taking an impact just on my own mental health, my own wellness. I thrive by being able to have conversations and connections with people, right? So it's cool for people that have, if you're in quarantine with a lot of people, family and friends, if you're living with that type of situation, it's a positive one to be in. But right now, it's not so much the same, not so much the case. So it's kind of where I'm at.
I'm gonna watch one more on Nico, and then you guys are gonna have a chance to do this for yourself. All right. So, what advice would he give to share to others?
Some advice that I would share with some people is to stay connected in whatever way they can, whether it's with family and friends, right, or being able to find some new sort of hobby to kind of take care of yourself. One thing that I've been reminding myself and a lot of my people is to just be gracious and to take care of yourself, right, in whatever way you need. It's important to recognize that, it's okay that if you're not doing okay right now, we got to find some way to stay together and stay connected to come out of this.
All right. So let me switch back to this. So that was I just wanted to model what that process would look like. You need to make a Padlet, or again, you could do this on paper if you want. You'll just have to take a picture of it to submit. But I think this works kind of better on Padlet. Wasn't anything that one. and you should take at least 20 notes, and you're trying to learn about this person. So you have a choice, and I think we're into our work. We're just about to into a period of work time. There's other clients. Feel free to click through and learn about them or watch their intro video. So it looks like a number of interesting people that you could choose to investigate. Obviously, investigate all of them and see if there's a person that you connect with that you want to learn more about, or you would want to center for your design project. Like, which one of these people are you inspired to build for? They can be any of them. It doesn't matter. It can also be Nico, if that's the person that really that speaks to you, that you want to create something for. So you'll go here, you'll find a person, you'll set up your Padlet, and for the next 20 minutes, again, you're going to pick a client, you'll watch the videos to empathize with their lives and needs, record at least 20 notes about them, and we're trying to find out about their identity, not just their needs, so that we can understand them better and what we could build for them. Think about things like what is said in an interview, how do they feel, what are some challenges they face, and so on. And the goal, of course, is to uncover a need that you could ultimately build a solution for. So why don't we take 20 minutes? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We'll come back together at 5:35. I want you to, let me make this even clearer. Is one, make a Padlet, and then name it client empathy. And then two, pick a client. And then three, watch the videos and take notes on the Padlet. And what you are trying to get at is some of these topics. So let me just put this on the slide for you guys. For work time. Okay, so why don't we take 20 minutes? We'll come back together somewhere around 5:40, and then we'll move on to the next part of this challenge. But I want you to get to know a client, pick a client, and take a bunch of notes on them. If there's any questions, alrighty, I'm gonna continue with the sort of the course, the class tonight. If you need more time with your client, you can this will be pretty quick on my end, so you can go back to your client. In fact, I would suggest you do go back to your client to get more details. I'm going to continue though with some things to think about, and we're going to move on to defining a problem for the client. So just a note, if you're something that's expected on the design guide, instead of having you submit all this, like lots of different stuff on Canvas, we're just going to submit the design guide, design challenge guide. And so what you hopefully have already done is you've put the link to your client empathy Padlet. Make sure to put it here, and then let me know which client you chose. So those are some things that if you haven't done them, you should get that done on the design challenge guide. So we're going to move forward. We just spent some time finding a client and learning about them. We're going to move into the second part of the design process, which is defining. We'll watch a quick intro video on that.
Define is the second step in the design process. You'll take everything you discovered from diving into your client's story and use it to identify a specific need or problem. In this part of the challenge, you'll craft a point of view, or a POV statement. The POV statement includes an important element of your client's identity and a specific problem or need they have. There are some problems the client may have you can't solve, so pick one you can realistically tackle. Here's an example of a POV statement. Devon is a senior in high school who needs a method to connect his passion for art and music in a way that helps him find his career path. Here's another example. Kenyatta is a shy freshman in a new school who needs a method to engage with other socially awkward kids in a way that makes her feel safe and comfortable. Remember, you're standing in your client's shoes. What's one problem you can help them solve that would really make a difference in their life?
Alrighty. So the way that they suggest we do this process is that you would be collecting details now. I think that that's superfluous. That's extra. I think it made more sense to collect details while you were watching the client videos. So you basically already did this part, or probably have already done this part, the 2.1 collect, because I think it just made more sense to collect the details while you were actually watching the videos. So I'm gonna move on to 2.2, which is clustering. And so what happens in clustering is we take all these details and we start to look for patterns between them. So I'm gonna start grouping, start to group the details. I'll show you what this will look like based on similarities. And I'm thinking about things like the client's identity in terms of their characteristics, maybe a problem they have, and maybe a goal. So those aren't the only patterns that you might look for, but those are some common ones. So I'm going to drag so I got my Padlet here, and I want to start organizing these by sort of pattern. So let's see here. Here's some things about Nico. What can we drag together here? We know that in terms of identity, he was born in Michigan, he works in education, his mom is from the Philippines. Let's see here. Here's some challenges. He's having a hard time staying socially connected. His dad works at the hospital. He can't take time off. His dad works a ton. Things that are important to him. So maybe that's another theme here. Thrive by having connections with people, family and education, music, food. We know that he's got 3 siblings, so that's a little bit about his identity. Let's see here. We know about his dad, works a ton, so we have a bunch of those details about his dad. He works, education is important. So some challenges, his family is affected by the time spent at work. His dad works at a COVID clinic. What else is going on here? So he is trying to, obviously his challenge is staying safe, staying connected, some things that he's inspired to do. Remember, this is a little shorter for me. I didn't go through the full process, but finding pockets of positivity. We know that his dad works at a COVID clinic. And then here's some things that was important to him. So this was an abbreviated process. It may go quickly for you. But so we have a couple themes here. We have some identity elements of things that Nico cares about: being connected, family and education, music, food, education. We know a little bit about Nico. He works in education. His mom's from the Philippines, born in Michigan, has 3 siblings. Some challenges have to do with the amount of time his dad spends at work. I assume his mom also spends a lot of time at work. He's misses sitting down to a restaurant to eat. He wants to throw a music event. And so here's his sort of aspirations. So we know some identities, a lot of identity stuff. We have some challenges, and then we have some things that matter to Nico. So that's kind of an abbreviated process, but I want you to spend a little time right now. Why don't we we'll start with 5 minutes, and if you need more time, we'll give you more. Just let me know. But why don't you guys spend 5 minutes clustering the details that you've put together so far, and we'll come back together at 5:50. And if you need more time, I'll just let me know in the chat or whatever. But why don't we spend another 5 minutes clustering? Alrighty, we're gonna come back together in a minute. If you need more time, if you could just shoot me a message in the chat, and we can put more time. You can do an emoji. You can just call it out, or you can just write in the chat if you need more time. Otherwise, we'll get started again in a minute. Alrighty. So now, at this point, I believe you have clustered your details that you've learned about your client. And we're going to move on to the next step, and that is defining a point of view. So what we want to get out of this is what you would call a problem statement or a point of view statement. So we're going to think about our client, and we're going to write out an actionable statement that expresses the problem that we are hoping to solve through development of an app, essentially. So this is not brainstorming solutions. This is simply defining a problem. And within this, we identify who's the person, what does the person need most, and why they need it. So let's see here. Here's an example of a problem statement. We can use this framing. The person's name plus a descriptor. They need a way for everybody to deeper problem in a way that lets them learn something. So some examples that came up in the video that we watched, there's Devon. He's a senior in high school. He needs a method to connect his passion for art and music in a way that helps him find a career path. That's a solid problem statement right there. And then we have Kenyatta, a shy freshman in a new school, needs a method to engage with other socially awkward kids in a way that makes her feel safe and comfortable. So those are some examples. And we also have that set up here under part 2 define. So there's some examples here. So what you're going to do right now, you're going to write a problem statement. If you'll write it here, and you're going to add it to the a different Padlet that I set up. So I'll set it up right here. I'm going to add my problem statement. So just because I'm modeling this, I'm using Nico as an example, but you can put it. I mean, obviously if you did Nico, you'll put Nico as well. But if you did another client, that's also totally fine. So I'll just add my problem statement. So actually, may just call this Nico problem statement. And my problem statement for Nico is this. So I wrote it this way: Nico, a 25-year-old educator and musician, needs a way to safely connect with his family and community in a way that honors the challenges in how, let's see here. So we have, okay, I'm sorry. Let's see. He's a 25-year-old educator and musician, needs a way to safely connect to his family and community in a way that honors the challenges of time and work expectations. All right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be much more complicated than that, or rather it shouldn't be any more complicated than that. We have the frame is here. I'd like you to write your statement here and also on the Padlet. I think that's just about it. So you'll add your problem statement to this Padlet, and that's about it. So for tonight, you should have done parts 1 and 2 of the design challenge guide. You did part 1 of empathy, of which you created a Padlet for. You went through the definition of a problem process, where you took the clusters. Actually, and I'm sorry, let me go a little slower through the problem definition. I used these clusters. So I used the identity, what I know about him. I used the challenges, what I know that he's affected by. And then I used sort of the aspiration. So he's this kind of dude. He's having a lot of trouble connecting with his people, in particular because his family's working a ton. And these are the things that he's like aspirational. So we need to do this he needs a way to connect with his family in a way that like incorporates all these aspirational things. So that's the problem that I set up for Nico. This is the problem statement that I wrote for Nico. So what I want you to do is, again, if you would fill out parts 2.3 and 2.4. And if you haven't done the teacher effectiveness survey, it'd be great if you would.